All right, welcome back to Estradanary Conversations, the Ruben Estrada show. We got Ed Judd, good friend of mine. Thanks for being on, man.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Excited to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, so are we. Yeah. Well, we could get as deep as you want, or we could stay on the surface. So it's just two guys having a conversation.
Cool.
So, how's your year starting?
Starting out good. We got some really positive things that are happening, both personally and also with the business. So we're excited to see where this all ends up. But it's the first of the year, so you sit down and you write out. You have a bunch of goals in front of you, and we are really big on when we set up our goals. You don't make them so big that you fail in the first month. So little steps, and
Do you normally do that?
Oh yeah, every year.
Okay. And then do you normally have this strategy where you don't set them up so you fail in the first month? Or has that kind of been an evolution where you did it that way before and it didn't work, so now you're trying something new?
It's been an evolution, but it started probably 5 years ago. So my wife, Kristen, she is, have you heard of SMART goals?
SMART goals? No,
yeah.
I'm not smart, so I probably haven't heard them.
SMART goals have been around for a long time. So SMART is, I'd have to look it up and see exactly it's an acronym.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But a lot of people use that. We have not really, we have kind of veered away from that. We have our own way of setting our goals. Like I said, it's really about making small steps instead of big steps. Why do most people fail at going to the gym every month after February? It's because they have all these big goals and I want to lose 15 pounds. I want to gain 10 pounds of muscle. I want to be able to do 235 on the bench. And they don't get that in the first month because that is something that takes time. So they don't do it in the first month. So that's why gym memberships fall dramatically in February, March, because people set their goals too big. If you do them smaller, you'll get there eventually.
It's hard to see the progress.
That's why you have to have a long-term goal with long-term vision, because if you're short visioned and big goals, you're more than likely you're gonna give up.
So when you talk about long-term, is that like 5 years, 10 years, 20 years?
Ours, we usually try to set them up on a yearly basis. So when we talk long-term, I'm 365 days out. Here's where we want to be.
Oh.
And here are the steps in between that we're going to take to make sure that we get to that long-term goal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So long-term, I had longer.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't mean that we have the goals that we want to, here's what we want in 5, 10 years. We haven't really looked at it 15 years yet, but
that's a long time.
It is, especially when you have gray hair and your goatee. 15 years is a long time. You're like, I hope I make that birthday party.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good goal, right? I hope it's alive.
That is a good goal. Yeah, I hate to say that. It's weird when you start to get to this age. In fact, I was even having a conversation with a friend of mine last night at dinner, and I won't say my age, but we both looked at it. We're the same age.
Aren't you proud of it, though?
I am proud of it. Yeah. But it's what you think about. Just pick 60. When we were in our 20s, 60, you're like, you might as well be in a casket.
That's true. Yeah.
And when you're knocking on the door of that, then you're like, how did I get here?
But you're not 60 and here.
No, that's the problem. Well, what do they say? Our job as we get older is for how did they say that? Our young minds this is terrible. What is that old? It is the age. See this? That is a testament to what's happening to me right now.
Right.
But the job of our minds is to keep but we think, essentially, we still think we're 20. And we still try to do things that we did when we were 20.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, why does my Achilles hurt?
Yeah.
I know I walked up the stairs a couple times.
Right. Well, you're still in pretty good shape, though.
I am in good shape, but there have been some things that have cropped up and I'm like, wow, why does that hurt? That had never hurt before. And when I was younger, and when I say younger, I'm talking like 3-4 years ago. If I had an injury, it would be maybe 2 days. Now I tweak something and it's like, why is this lasting 2 months? So that's another part of changing the diet and trying to get things right there too.
Yeah. Speaking of diet, you're on the carnivore diet, right?
Yeah, my wife and I have jumped into that. We've been doing it now we're into it for 4 months, 5 months.
Did that long?
Yeah, or maybe could even be longer because I go back to we were doing it when Brody started football.
Yeah.
So we've been doing it for a while. So carnivore is simply that it's all meat. And the real reason behind it, well, first of all, is for Kristen, my wife, she had a lot of inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
And this has really, really dramatically improved that. It's just when you start to become aware of what you're eating, this is funny because my cell phone down here, you become aware of what you're eating. So you start to look at all the ingredients. And when you look at the ingredients, I've really kind of, and I think the thing is that when you look at ingredients, and if you have a 3rd grade reading level and you can't pronounce half of the things in that ingredient list, it's probably not good for you.
True.
And we have been doing that a lot. Start to look at the ingredients and we're like, oh my God, this stuff it's not just bad. Some of the stuff is actually toxic. And when you break it down, if you have let's just go with beef, good red meat, you can get
it have to be organic or grass fed or
you want
all the types.
You want to try to get the organic. Grass fed's good, and then you got to be careful how they finish the beef. But really, what you're trying to stay away from are there's a lot of places that they'll put supplements into the food, hormones. There's different things that they can inject into the food.
The cow is eating, could have pesticides in it,
things
like that. So
yeah, these are all things you got to be aware of.
Yeah.
And another thing you got to be aware of too is like when you're buying beef, especially beef, but I mean chicken, you got to worry about the hormones and some of the other things they do to it. But at the store, have you ever wondered why the meat is so vibrant red? It's a dye. Wow. It's something they spray on the meat. If you ever take like 2, say, ribeyes that are stacked on top of each other, like overlapping, and you pull this one off of the bottom one, you'll see the brown underneath and over here on the red side. So I
thought it was just a shadow.
Yeah, not a shadow. They want you to believe it's a shadow, but it's not a shadow. And I'm not going to go like all politically weird, but I think it's time that we really start to kind of raise our hand and say, hey, wait a minute. What's in the food? And when you think about what the FDA, and I don't want to go political, but when you think about what the FDA allows in the States and in our nation, as opposed to what Europe will allow in their food, half the food, more than half the food, they won't even allow in Europe to be sold. So you feel better when you start eating food and you take some, you sit down, you have a great big meal and, you kind of walk away. And I got used to this and made a pattern for me. It's like, just how it is. You walk away from that really big meal, like say a big pasta and bread and you feel lethargic. And
like you need a nap.
You do. Yeah. You need a nap because that's your body going, oh my God, I got to process all this stuff. Even though you took all the carbohydrates with, sugar gives you energy, but it still makes you tired. Whereas you sit down and you get a big fat ribeye. Now, what I've added potatoes back into my diet. Kristen is strictly
still all meat, protein. Okay.
All protein, primarily red meat. I put potatoes back in, but I can eat a huge ribeye and a baked potato and I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
I don't feel bloated. I don't feel tired. I'm just like, it's good solid food.
Well, I dabbled in that diet a little bit just before the holidays, and I didn't go like all protein. I threw some like carbs in there because I tried to go cold turkey on some things, and it really had a negative effect on me. Yeah. So I did mostly protein and then a little bit of carbs, like maybe potatoes or something like that, and it felt good.
Yeah.
Like I had more energy. I was less bloated. Could have been inflammation. I don't know. I slept better.
Yeah.
My stress levels were lower. So I'm on board with that. I don't know if I can go all protein, but.
Well, it's kind of like the goals, right? If you say, okay, I'm going to go 100%, and they do say that the carnivore diet is probably one of the hardest diets to do because it is such a drastic change in your life. But it's like goals. So if you say, okay, I'm going to go 100% carnivore, and I'm not going to eat anything else, you're probably going to give up because you're going to, but taper off of, and I did that. I tapered off of the the carbs and
the pastas and the
I was a
bread.
I was a breadaholic.
Oh, bread. Yeah.
Oh, sourdough bread. That was like my nightly go-to, toasted with peanut butter on it.
Oh, okay.
Fantastic. I haven't done that in probably 4 months.
Do you sleep better?
I do. Well, I've never had a problem sleeping.
Really?
Yeah, I'm lucky enough that I'm that guy. Yeah.
You're blessed.
Yeah. When I go, well, I'm also a bit of a night owl, so I don't, I don't go to bed. I usually, if my goal this year, one of my goals is to be in bed by 11 every night.
That's early for you?
That's early. Yeah.
What was like 1 or 2? Like
it was at least midnight.
Wow.
And
you had enough energy to last that long? I mean,
I do. Yeah.
That's cool.
I think maybe I might be a little nocturnal. I'm not sure.
Are you an early riser or you just like to sleep in?
I'm up at 7 every morning.
Okay.
So it's not late, but it's kind of a habit I think started when we had young kids.
Yeah.
And get the kids to bed and it's like, all right, now I always have a project going on. So now I can go to the garage and I can work on my project. And I'll get out there and turn the music on and work on the project. And it's like, I'm not surprised if I look at my clock or my watch and it's like, oh God, it's 12:30.
Wow.
Like, I should probably start thinking about wrapping things up now.
You think it was a music thing that just like, or is it a project?
It's the project. It was like, that was my time to take everything in the day, process it, wind down. And I think it really staying up late for me is why I sleep so good. First of all, because you get to the point where you're tired and you want to go to bed.
Yeah.
But it was also where you decompress. Like if rush hour wasn't so bad, that would be a great time. If you had an hour-long drive and it wasn't the stress of rush hour where people like road rage sets in, because that doesn't help at all.
Right.
But if you had an hour drive, say you worked in Thornton and you lived in Wiggins. So give yourself about 45 minutes to an hour to get there.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty chill drive.
Yeah.
And you think, you decompress. And that's what I would do in the garage. I would think, decompress, and kind of process everything that happened that day. So when I went to bed, I wasn't doing that while I was trying to sleep.
So you're not like a news guy? You got to turn on the news before you go to sleep?
No, never do that.
Really?
No, you know what? If I ever watch anything before I go to sleep, you're going to laugh at this, but it's Motor Trend.
Okay.
Well, that's the worst thing I could possibly do is turn something on. It's like, oh my God, they're rebuilding a 67 Mustang.
You're like, new project.
And it's 12:05. I got to see how this turns out. And I can't fast forward. So yeah. But
where does that come from? Is that like childhood thing or?
Oh yeah. I've always been a big car guy, and yeah, so that's always been a passion of mine completely.
What was your first car?
My first car was, crazy enough, was a 1960 Studebaker Hawk.
Studebaker, that's trucks, right?
No, that's it. They did make a truck.
Yeah,
but they're
not known for that.
They're very popular. If you ever find a Studebaker truck, they're worth a lot of money. But the Hawks were a very sought after car. Studebaker was never going to be one of those
like a muscle car.
No.
Oh.
No, it was, 1960 had the big old fins on the back, and it just had that classic look.
Pull that up, buddy. Studebaker. What is it? Studebaker what?
Studebaker Hawk.
Studebaker Hawk.
1960 Studebaker Hawk.
Oh, it's got some like fins on it.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
And the one I had was all black. It was his dad's car, and he gave it to me on my 16th birthday.
It's like a Thunderbird, almost.
Kind of has a little bit of that look.
Oh, it's like that looks like luxury a little bit.
Yeah, it was. I would say it was considered a luxury car back in the day.
Wow. Never seen
that one right there with the chrome wheels and with the red interior.
Look at that.
That's what mine was supposed to look like, but I never finished the restoration on it. So I sold it, and then I had a 1965 Mustang notchback and was starting to restore it. But a young kid, I didn't have a lot of money, and so we didn't have a lot of money to put into it. So I sold it, and then I had a 1974 Mustang Ghia. And then I went from there to a 1979 Mustang, and then to a 1983 Mustang GT. And
so you're a Mustang guy?
I'm a Mustang guy, yeah.
Okay.
I'm a Ford guy. Now, I hope this doesn't turn away any of your podcasters, because
it doesn't matter.
Such that division. It's about me right now. And I'm a Ford guy through and through. I noticed in front of your house, though, you have white Ford truck parking, so I fit right in there.
That's it.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I felt very much at home. So thank you for accommodating.
Yeah. Yeah. Although secretly, my dream car is a 1969 Camaro.
No, well, here's the thing. When I was growing up, it was Camaro against Ford, and we had the occasional Mopar that would get into the mix. Mm-hmm. And I was fortunate enough at that time. I graduated in 1986. So hey, nobody has to figure out what my age is anymore.
Yeah, do the math.
Do the math. I'm in finance, so I'm not going to do the math for you. But yeah, I graduated in 86 and I had a 1983 GT Mustang. So for that time, I knew it was a fairly new car. It was the first high output. And we did a lot of races. Mm-hmm. But one of my friends, and I think you might have met him, Tracy Emhoff. I'm not sure if you have or not, but
rings a bell.
He had a 1969 Super Sport.
Oh yeah.
And he had fixed it up.
A Chevelle or a Camaro? Camaro.
Yeah.
Did Chevelle make a Super Sport?
They did.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of racing in high school.
Who won?
Quarter mile. Well, I did.
You did?
I did a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I was. I was quite the driver back in the day. I was that guy that everybody was like, some people loved it and some people hated it. But I was known for what they call the Canadian reverse of my Mustang.
Canadian reverse?
Canadian reverse, yeah.
Ooh, tell me about that.
So that is where you take your car and you hit reverse as fast as you can. Probably you get up to about 40 miles an hour. And
spinning the tires.
Yeah, spinning the tires backwards in reverse, and then you lock up the brakes, turn the wheel, and you flip the front end around. And you try to do it in a very smooth, consecutive motion. So you come down the road, you reverse, hit the brakes, come around, and you take off going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a fun move.
Wow. Is it just
learn it from something on TV?
It's just a move, nothing really advantageous when it comes to like racing or anything. Like
no, it'd be more like
optics.
if the cops were chasing you and you got caught in a corner, then you get back out of there, spin it around, and take off. That never happened, by the way.
Where would you race?
Never. We had a great little spot where we lived in Hudson. You know the area.
Yeah.
Frontage road that went north towards
so parallel to like 76 or
parallel to 76.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was good and bad because sometimes people on 76 would call the cops to turn you in.
Oh yeah.
And one time we had to. It's a crazy story, but yeah, that's where we would do the race. We would do standing stops, and we would do from 40. We would do 20-mile-an-hour drops, whatever it was. But that was the big place. And then we also had a place marked out in Keensburg, just outside of Keensburg on the frontage road.
Mm.
That one was harder because you had to shut it down real quick because there was a huge turn right at the end of it.
Oh,
yeah.
So I bet you there's some stories.
There are. We had one kid actually didn't make that turn, and he lived through the event, but it was a tragic accident that ended up on Highway 76. And
going opposite direction.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. And then actually it was a race that I was in. Gosh, this will take me back a ways, but it was a race that I was in outside of Hudson, and I was racing. I had my 83 GT Mustang racing a 1979 Mustang, and we raced from 20, raced from 40. I beat him in 20, beat him in 40. No, I beat him from a standing stop and beat him from 20. He said, let's go from 40. So I'm like, all right, we're kind of pushing our luck out here, but let's go ahead and do it. And we took off. Yeah, it takes you a while. You get up to 40 and then you do the honk, 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 drop, go.
Oh, that's what that means. So you're at 40 miles an hour starting.
40 miles an hour starting. And he kept having troubles. He kept spinning his wheels too much at the standing stop and then to 20. So we did it from 40. And I was pulling away from him, but we're starting to come up over the first hill. And it's like, okay, we
need to slow down.
Yeah,
right?
I need to slow down. We don't know if anybody's coming the other direction. So he slowed down and just as he started to come in behind me, I saw a puff of smoke come out from his front left tire. And as soon as that puff of smoke hit, the front end of his car dropped. And we were starting to shut it down. So maybe right around 80. And front end of his car grabbed, and he literally did like this pirouette, like 3 or 4 on the nose of his Mustang. I looked up, I could see the bottom of the car at one point, and I'm like, oh my God, he's coming back on the road. So I downshifted into third gear and took off. And when I took off, then he went sideways and he barrel rolled like 6 times down the fence row.
Oh.
Yeah, it was pretty hideous.
He lived.
He did live. The crazy part about that is I pulled around and drove back up to the Carnage, and his car was upside down, tires still spinning. And I run up there and I look inside the car and I can't see him anywhere, but there is he hit a corner post. So that's what stopped the car. Gee. So the corner post is where you got the fence coming this way, and they really support this one to brace it. His car flipped and hit that, and the corner post went up through the top of the car, right through the driver's seat. Oh. And I looked at that and I'm like, holy, like, where's he at?
Yeah.
And I'm trying, his car's crushed, there's gas leaking down inside of it. And I look up and I see him like 4 fence posts down. And he's laying right parallel with the fence post. One leg is up, his left leg is up, and he's just laying there. And I'm like, holy crap. And I run down there to him and I look at him and he's got blood trickling out of one eye. And I thought, oh my God. And I wasn't smart enough then to be like, oh, don't touch him. Leave it like it is. I yelled at him, yelled his name like 3 or 4 times. And then I slapped him on the face. Slapped him again on the face. The second slap, he literally jumped up and he said, get my wallet. We need to get out of here. So we did. We rummaged through the car, grabbed his wallet.
Wild.
We left, and not even thinking, because of the adrenaline and everything that happened, not even thinking that people on the highway saw this whole thing.
Right.
I mean, it was a motion picture accident.
Yeah.
Like something.
And it makes noise, a lot of noise.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was crazy. So we go back home, and our whole thought, my dad had this big old 4-wheel drive, a Scout International Traveler, and just a beast. Like, we'll go home and get the Scout. We'll pull this thing over, drag it home, and get out of here.
Yep.
So we run back to my house, get the Scout, go back down there. And when we pop that hill, come over the top of it.
Cops everywhere.
Yep. Ambulance, fire trucks. I mean, the whole 9 yards. Yeah. And we're like, oh, God. So somebody on the highway.
Sure. Saw it and went into town and called it in. And I'll never forget, I drove up there and guy stopping me, and I said, hey, I got the driver of the car with me. And he's like, there's no way you have the driver of that car with you. Right. They're looking for a body.
Yeah, they're looking for a body.
Yeah.
I was like, no, he's right here sitting beside me. And they said, sir, we need to get you out of the car. And so my buddy gets out of the car and he walks over to him, and they pull up a gurney to him. And they're like, you get on the gurney. And he's like, I'm fine. It's like, no, there's no way you're fine.
There's no way.
So they put him on the gurney, took him to the hospital, and then there were the tickets. So
then the consequences.
Then you get to suffer the consequences of your stupid actions. But at the time, man, what an adrenaline rush.
Oh, man. You still in contact with him?
No. Actually, the crazy part is he was my good friend in high school. He ended up marrying, and he was dating my sister at the time, married her. And unfortunately, he passed away. Gosh, what's it been now? About 8 years?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So crazy story. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's So what'd you learn? Did you do more racing after that?
No. Yes. No.
Yeah, you didn't learn. Yeah.
Well, I think the thing you do in a situation like that is you're like, okay, why? Why did that happen? So you always try to put a finger on why it happened, because it can make you be
how
like,
how old were you?
Yeah, it was probably, would have been our senior year. So 17, 18.
Are you thinking about that though? I mean, because that's a pretty mature thing.
We really were. It's like, okay, this can't be. And my whole thing is, I remember, I mean, I can still see it today. I looked in my rearview mirror to make sure that he was going to have room to get over. And I saw that puff of smoke. And so what we determined was his car had been setting for quite a while, and he had a front strut go out. So our whole thing was, if you're going to race, make sure your car is in good shape. That's the lesson. Then you can keep racing.
That's the lesson.
Because if you don't, you're going to end up it's like, oh, no, don't. And it's hard, because I have a son that is, he's kind of built like that. And he loves to go fast. He's got a He's got a souped up Mustang and he just got that thing registered. So it's going to be back out on the road. And I'm like, all right, well, don't try to take out all of your built up anticipation all in one fair swoop.
Right.
And he's like, oh, no. And I'm like, yeah, I've ridden with you before. I know what that means. Yeah. So you just got to be smart.
Yeah.
That's why I'm disappointed that Bandamere went away, because that was everybody's outlet.
Yeah.
That was really into that quarter mile quick racing.
Right.
Bandamere was it.
Right. You could get it out there in a safe sort of manner, I guess. Yeah.
And that's really in the beginning. That's why Bandamere was created. And the crazy part though, I guess the irony of the story is that Bandamere has just bought property not more than a mile from where we used to quarter mile race.
Ooh.
Yeah. So they're going to start breaking. Cool. Yeah, they're going to start breaking ground out there. So Bandamere's not done. They're just going to move locations, and then I guess just be really careful about who they allow to build around them.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
lesson learned there.
Yeah, well, hope so.
Yeah,
we'll see. I mean, they did that with DIA, right?
Yeah, you're right.
They got a big radius around that you can't build homes. So
we'll see.
Yeah. So yeah, that all wraps around to, I love car shows at night. They relax me. And
wow, that's cool. I didn't know that about you. That's something.
Yeah. My father was extremely mechanically inclined, and he was the kind of guy that if it's broke, it's fixed here at the house. And it's not fixed by any. And he was that guy that it gives you, and something that I tried to pass on to my kids. If something's broke, no matter how big or how small it is, especially if it's big and it's complicated, take it apart. It's broke anyway. Figure it out. Take it apart. And now with the advent of the phones, because back then we didn't have the phones, but now we take stuff apart. Or YouTube. Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. You had to learn that stuff on your own. You had to go out and buy the Chilton's book. I don't know if you ever heard of Chilton's.
No.
It's like a step-by-step manual on how to work on a car. Like anything from A to Z, and the book is like that thick, and you just flip to whatever it might be, transfer case, transmission.
Wow.
Whatever.
It's a how-to?
It's a how-to, and it had pictures, or like black and white pictures.
Yeah.
And you would just go through that thing. And
let me see that thing.
Literally, our Chilton's books were full of grease. You could always tell.
Oh, yeah, there's one.
Yeah, and if you could find a picture of what those step-by-step instructions look like on the inside, it's...
Wow.
It literally, it breaks everything down point by point by point by point. This was our YouTube growing up.
This was like the encyclopedia of cars.
Well, see, look at that. Right? I mean, it's pretty clear.
Oh, my gosh.
And explainable,
but... extremely helpful.
Yeah, very much.
They're still available on Amazon. So...
But yeah, that's
nuts.
That's what we'd use. And for when I was growing up, for my father, like I'll give you an example. Some of the stuff that we did when I was growing up. I had a 1984 Ford F-150. After my Mustang, that's what I bought. I went to a truck. I don't know why.
4-wheel drive?
4-wheel drive, yeah. Had a 4-inch lift kit on it, the whole 9 yards. And it had a 302 in it. My dad had a 76 Ford with the 351. And we got to talking about that, and he's like, well, if you want to upgrade your engine, he said, you can take the engine out of my truck and put it in your truck. He had another truck. And so I'm like, yeah. So in one day, that friend that rolled his car, we pulled my truck in, pulled the engine out, pulled his truck in, pulled that engine out, and then pulled my truck back in and tried to put the 351 in mine. We could not make that thing work because it just would not fit with the transfer case and all that kind of stuff. And we have to get a different oil pan, and what a mess. So we pulled that one back out and dropped the 302 back in my truck, hooked everything back up, pulled his truck back in, dropped the 351 back in, and hooked everything back up. And it's like, okay, did that all in one day.
We can't get a mechanic to work on stuff within 2 weeks.
Here's the problem. And like with Gunner, my son and his love of working on cars. Now he just bought another project. I'm like, kid, you have chosen the most expensive hobbies. Wow, it's a good thing he doesn't have a girlfriend right now, because it's like you don't need that expense too. But he bought a 1974 Highboy, and it is a tough, beefy looking truck. So he's going to tear that all down, and then he's got his Mustang, which is a 2005, still something you can work on, modify, which he's done a lot of modifications on it. But when you get to the new cars, you open, like even with our Lexus, you open up the hood and I look at it, it's like,
it's a computer.
Yeah, it's a big giant computer. And the common person anymore doesn't have the tools to work on a car like they did back in the 80s and even the 90s.
Right.
You have to have all these computers and hookups and like with our boat. I remember when we first bought our boat and it wasn't running quite right. And I called the dealership and I'm like, hey, here's what's going on. Is there anything I can do with it? And like, oh no, you need to bring it back in. And I'm like, all right. It's like, what do you guys need to do? And like, well, we probably need to do a software update on it.
Oh, geez.
I'm like, are you kidding me? A software update on a 350 Monsoon? But they did. They had to upgrade the software and update it. And then everything, RPMs, everything equaled out and it was running great.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's not a wrench.
It is not a wrench. And just the days of, I've conformed, but I miss those days. I mean, I won't even, and I've had people before ask me because of the truck I drive and, it looks like, it's like that guy probably has a tool. And I've had people ask me before, hey, can you jump my car? And I look at their car and I'm like, I can't. It's like, well, do you have cables? And I said, I do, but you have way too many computers in that car. I do not want the liability of trying to jump that and something happens and I blow a computer and then you look at me and go, hey, you owe me.
Yeah.
Isn't that terrible?
You can't help anybody now because it's like too much of a liability.
Yeah. I mean, I'll still stop and help somebody change a tire.
Yeah.
But as far as the other stuff, when it comes to, doing something bigger mechanically, it's too much of a risk.
So you have all your fingers? Like no injuries? I mean, is it?
I do. I've got them all. There's been some injuries, but
yeah. No injuries enough where you're missing a.
No, the closest injury that I had to actually losing a limb was on a table saw. And that's kind of a funny story because you can ask Kristen about that. When I was out in the garage doing my thing and running a piece of wood, and you got to pay attention when you use a table saw.
Yes.
Running a piece of wood through, and when I got the wood cut and ripped it, there was a piece kind of dangling by the edge. So I thought I'll just flick it out of the way. So I reached down to flick it, but I hit the saw with my finger. Oh. And it was like, it sounded like a piece of wood hit the blade because it ding, made that hole. And I grabbed my hand and I held it and I'm like, oh no. And I pulled it up and looked at it. It looked like if you put a load in a cigar and the end of the cigar blows up. Yeah. So what it looked like, it was just like whoosh. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. So I wrapped it in a rag and I stood out there for a little bit trying to stop the bleeding, squeezing it. And I walked in the house and walked down the hallway and looked in. Kristen's watching TV and I'm like, hey. I'm like, oh, she's going to be so pissed.
You might as well just drive yourself to the ER.
Well, the funny part about that is that I looked at it and finally pulled it up and I'm like, I cut my finger with the table saw. And she's like, oh my God. And she jumps up and we pull my hand off the wrapping. It's all blood. Go over to the sink and I take it off. And she's like, we need to get you to the ER. And I looked at him like, what are they going to do with that? So I just took a bunch of Band-Aid or butterflies and butterflied it together, wrapped it up. And
what are you, Rambo?
No, a doctor might have done better because.
Did you have any? Oh, you don't have any feeling?
I don't have a lot of feeling. And the hard part about that finger now is like texting.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you use a pencil eraser, it doesn't do anything. That's kind of what this one does because it's like just hard.
There's no nerves in there. You killed all the nerves.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, that's dangerous too because now if you get it injured again, you can't even tell.
Probably not.
Like burn it on the stove. You don't even know. You're like the perfect tortilla maker.
It would be yeah, you're right. It would be a great party trick.
Yeah. Yeah. Like look at this.
$1 for every minute. I've put Kristen in that position a couple times. That the funniest one was, and I guess we're going down a different path here, but I split my head open like in just a dramatic way. It was awesome.
Like, was this another garage project or?
No, this was actually Scare the Kid project at 11 o'clock at night.
Oh.
It was Brody's birthday, and he had a bunch of friends over, and they're in the backyard. It's like 11 o'clock at night, and they're trying to scare each other, and hiding. And it's like I look at Kristen, and I'm
You're like, I could do this.
Like, this is gonna be great.
Yeah.
So I put a sheet over my head, and smart thing to do, 11 o'clock at night, right? Because you can't see anyway. So go around the side of the house, and I sneak in through the side gate, and walk up there to the boys, and their backs to me, and I'm like, perfect opportunity. So I stand up and do the big scary man thing.
Yeah.
And they're probably 7.
Oh, yeah.
8 years old. And Brody, he spins around, he looks at me, and he's like, Dad. And I'm like, oh, man. So then he starts running after me, and all the boys start chasing me. So I go running around the house, and mind it, I got a sheet on. It's dark at night anyway, and run down the side of our 5th-wheel camper in the side lot. And I'm like, all right, I know right where the front of that camper is. So I ducked under the front, and I was going to make a quick dart out the backside. Well, I hit the hitch.
Oh,
I hit that hitch so hard. And it was one of those where I hit it, and I kind of took a couple steps back and then hit my knees and then laid down on the ground. And Brody came up. I'll never forget it. This little kid walks up, and he's like, got you, Dad.
Oh.
And they all run.
No, you're knocked out.
I was knocked out. So,
oh, gee.
So they all go back in the yard and are playing. I gather my senses, and I take that white sheet off of me, and it looked like I murdered somebody. And and I went out the gate in the front, walked up to the front of the house to the front door, and opened up the door again. Kristen sitting there, trail of blood all the way up to the front door. I've got this bloody sheet strapped to my head, bleeding down the side of my head. And she's like, oh my God, what happened? And I told her, and she's like, we need to get you to the ER. And I'm like, we got 8 kids in the backyard. You and I can't leave. I said, just butterfly it.
Oh, geez. That's your answer to everything.
It is. So she had to run to the store to get butterflies, and then she came back, and I kind of got the bleeding stopped, but it was an impact wound from like blunt force trauma. It wasn't a cut.
Right.
So it went from like right here to all the way back here. And I said, just butterfly it. So we're up in the bathroom, and she's trying to butterfly it. She's she's gagging. And and she's like, they're not sticking. They're not sticking. She's like, I need to cut the hair. I'm like, no, don't cut the hair.
Right.
Because I had an appointment in Chicago that next week, and I was meeting with the CEO of a company, and I'm like, I can't have a big hole in my head.
A patch.
So she tried 3 or 4 times, and she's like, I can't do it. And I'm like, well, you can't take me to the ER. We got nobody to watch the kids. And now it's like 11:30, almost midnight. So I drove myself to the hospital, to the ER. And that was hilarious because I parked the car, walked into the ER, holding my bandage, and told the gal at the desk what happened. And she's like, who drove you here? And I said, my wife did. Oh, I said, but we got kids at the house, so she had to get back and take care of them. She's like, okay. So they set it up. I go back in there. The doctor was totally awesome because he's like, okay, we're going to staple it. I'm going to shave this spot. And I'm like, I got a meeting in Chicago, and told him the whole thing. And he's like, all right, we'll do it old school. So he got in there with the needle and sutures and sutured the whole thing up, kept the hair intact. And
what?
Yeah, it was hard to comb, but he got it all done. And then after, a couple hours in there, I walked back out and had to sign the papers to leave. And the lady looks at me and she's like, somebody picking you up? And I was like, she's like, you drove yourself here, huh? And I said, well, I had to. She's like, oh, good God. So
did you have a headache? I mean, a concussion? And
I'm sure I did. Because you ever had the concussion where you see the lights go? Yeah. I definitely saw the star or the fireworks that night.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah. So what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
I guess. Yeah.
Makes you think twice anyway.
At least you have a lot of fun doing it.
I do. I guess that's the best part about it is the best part of that story were 2 things. Brody looking at me and going, got you, Dad. Mm-hmm. And thank God I didn't bleed out that night.
Right. Jeez.
And the other one was Kristen trying not, it's like, I better go to the doctor because she's going to puke on my head, and that's not going to be good for infection.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't blame her. I'm sure that was nasty.
Man.
Yeah.
So I think those lessons may have helped you. I mean, I think that goes back to, we're still 20, 18, 20 in our head.
That's just it.
Yeah.
We really are.
Mm-hmm.
And like, when's the last time you tried to jump over a 3-foot privacy fence?
Oh.
I mean, I used to do that, and I tried that not too long ago, and I hit the other side. I'm like, oh God, everything hurt.
Yeah. The worst part is landing on your feet.
It is.
It's like, it hurts.
I think the big thing is, and we do that a lot anyway. We try to stay very, very active.
Mm.
So, I mean, that helps.
Yeah.
It's when you start to get older and it's like, your hobbies go away. You don't have as many, or your hobbies become sit down hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have as many activities.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to keep ourselves as active as possible.
So what do you do?
For me, it's a lot of just staying engaged in something.
Mm.
So like right now I'm remodeling a bathroom.
Mm.
And that, I know it doesn't sound like much, but you're not sitting down.
Mm-hmm.
You're up and down. It's the upstairs bathroom, up and down the stairs all the time. You're running out to the garage, getting this, getting that, and carrying stuff out as I demo. Neither one of us are really the type of people to just sit down on the couch at 5 o'clock and sit there and veg until 9. Like, all right, let's go to bed.
Mm-hmm. Well, now that whole dynamic's changed in the house, right? So
yeah, and that's a totally different dynamic that, quite honestly, still wrapping our heads around it, trying to figure out how that whole thing works. But it's good. We're starting to. So the dynamic, anybody listening, is that we've just become empty nesters, and it's interesting. I find myself now, Kristen comes through the house and she shuts off lights. I go around and turn lights on and turn the TV on. And she's like, what are you doing? We don't need all the lights on. I'm like, I don't know. Kind of makes it feel like home. Like at any minute, a kid could come down the stairs.
Oh man.
But yeah. I don't, there's definitely something about that for me. I don't want to, I don't know. It's a psychological thing. I probably a hurdle that I have to overcome in this new era of
new chapter.
Yeah. Being empty nesters that I don't like it dark. I don't like it dark, and I don't like it quiet because I mean, you have a lot of kids.
Yeah.
Laughter and noise is like the best thing in the world.
It's the soundtrack of your life.
It is.
Yeah.
And you know what else I've noticed about not the soundtrack to your life, but it's another indication of like happiness to me. And I've said this here a couple of times. Happiness to me is a full dishwasher. Because at the end of the day, when I put dishes away and I put away 3 plates in a bowl and it takes me 3 days to fill it up, I'm like, this is really weird.
Yeah. You forget about all the little things.
Yeah. Like opening up your cabinet that has your glasses in it and all your glasses are there. Because when you have a bunch of kids,
they're not in the rooms or anything.
They're in the rooms. They're downstairs. They're in the they're all over the house, and you have like 3 glasses. And every once in a while, once a week, you have to do the glass roundup.
Yeah,
not anymore.
So you miss it?
I do. Yeah, I'm not. It's funny because if you asked Kristen the same question, she'd be like, "This is great," and I do. And don't get me wrong, I think it is great. Because we try to do more things, you get to know each other again. You start dating, you start, doing different things like that. But it is a transition that I find myself, I'm texting Daylin, I'm texting Gunner, I'm trying to text Brody. He doesn't talk as much as the other two, but no, just staying in touch with them.
So how is that dynamic with Kristen? Is it, how do you just hang out?
Pretty much this is going to speak to my age again. Good God. We started doing country swing lessons every Wednesday night at the Grizzly Rose.
Oh, wow.
And that's a cool thing.
That's physical.
It is, until I tweaked my knee. And this is another one of these things that I didn't tweak it. I was pushing a wheelbarrow full of rock when I did it. I didn't tweak it dancing because that just wouldn't be cool.
Right.
And even if I did, I'd make up a story. But I did tweak it, and we went line dancing, and well, it's not just line; it's learning how to swing.
Oh,
And so we were doing that. And I tell you what, doing the spin around things and it was like, oh God, it hurt.
Yeah.
And that is one of those things that when I did it, I'm like, it'll be fine.
Right. Just get a little wrap or.
Yeah. And that happened, or that happened in May.
Oh, gee. Coming up on
Yeah, I know.
Like 9 months.
I know.
Wow.
And it's still like right there.
Ugh.
But the other part of the dynamic is we tried it like last night, I had a friend call me and he's like, hey, we're just leaving work and we're going to go to the Pepper Pot and have dinner. Do you guys want to go? And it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Got nothing else to do. So
got
boom.
some freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we're having dinner like this weekend with Estradas.
Yes. Yes, us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different things like that.
But you can say yes to a lot of different things now.
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah. A whole bunch. And we do a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that was one of the things, all the traveling we did when the kids were younger and still in high school. That was hard because we missed, it's like, oh my God, that fell on prom. We had a couple, like 3 trips that fell on prom. It's like, oh man. So I'd have friends take pictures and that kind of stuff and keep me in the loop as to what was going on. And
you missed out on some things.
And there was, I'm not going to lie, for me, there was a lot of anxiety building up to those. And it's like, oh, we're going to miss this, maybe a birthday, maybe prom, homecoming, whatever it might be, even a game. And now we don't have to worry about that. We still have that little, Brody now playing football that we try to make sure that we're available for all of his games. And because we have another probably 4 years of that, we're guessing. But no, it takes a lot of that pressure off.
Yeah.
But then like any smart couple would do, right? Before they become empty nesters, what do? They buy 2 dogs.
I don't fill the void.
Yeah, but I don't think that's really in a handbook for people that travel a lot.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
You just relinquished one responsibility and gained another.
We did.
Yeah.
So then we get to call the kids back and it's like, hey, how would you feel about staying at our house for a week?
Ah, yes.
It's either that or you have a really cool neighbor, which I do have a great neighbor that he will pop in and take care of the dogs.
Yeah.
It
takes a tribe.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're managing it though. The nice part is that we've been married now for 27 years.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks. I mean, it's kind of a rarity anymore.
Sure.
And something that we want the younger population to always remember.
Well, what do you attribute that to? Because I've been married 26 years.
Yeah, congratulations to you. And I'm going to reverse the question. I'll answer it. But I think really the biggest thing is that as a husband, you just learn 2 words. Yes, dear.
Yes, dear.
And everything goes swimmingly.
Happy wife, happy life, all those cliches. Yeah.
Yeah. I like the turnaround on that one. Happy spouse, happy house.
Oh, there you go.
That's a good one. And I'm joking about the yes, dear thing.
Right.
I think really what it is it's mutual respect.
Yeah.
And never expecting one person to do everything. It's a give and take. I mean, even if you're working 60 hours a week, you couldn't work 60 hours a week if your wife wasn't taking care of the house and the kids. Mm-hmm. So it's never devaluating or devaluing either one. Mm-hmm. Like the wife to the husband to the wife. It's always you look at the value that they bring to the relationship and saying thank you. Mm-hmm. But I think the biggest thing is you always appreciating what they do.
That's good.
Yeah.
Is that what, if somebody asked you, what's the secret? That's what you'd say?
That is exactly what I'd say, is never devalue what the person is doing and always appreciate them. Always appreciate them. Because honestly, I think that's where a lot of marriages fall apart. People feel underappreciated. They feel underloved. And, you got to talk. And, you got to be.
Is that purposeful, though? Do you create a plan for that? Or is it just like,
no,
well, whatever my personality is, whatever I think feels right, that's what I'm going to do?
It definitely wasn't a plan. Suppose there's probably.
Is that how your parents were? Is that did you get an example from that or?
It had to have, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't really point to any I know my dad worked a lot and, Mom took care of the kids, all the cooking, all the cleaning, but I can't remember any big blow up arguments. And that's honestly one thing too, is that we were just talking about this just the other night. Oh no, it was just last night when we had dinner. I was like trying to think of the conversation. I cannot remember the last time Kristen and I raised our voices at each other. And that's
even behind closed doors.
No.
Wow.
No, it's we both agreed, and I'm like, I can't remember that they're, that's not to say that we're perfect. There have been times when, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, Kristen, her biggest pet peeve with me is I won't get into a yelling argument, but I will walk away and go,
right.
And she'll say, "What are you saying?"
Are you one of the guys that will like just take off? Or do you stay?
Oh, I'll stay.
You stay?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I've never taken off.
Yeah.
But I'm also the guy that from a very young age, any good or bad, probably more bad than good, I will do whatever possible to avoid confrontation. So sometimes it has to happen, but for the most part, I'm like, you know what? Probably better left unsaid. Not to the point where it builds up and becomes a cancerous cell.
Right.
But just sometimes, have you ever noticed like in the moment when you're just so angry and frustrated? I don't care what it is, work, on the road. And then the next day, if somebody were to walk up to you and go, "Hey, why were you so mad yesterday?"
You're like, I have no idea.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So you can blow it up in the moment and make it big and cause a problem that's going to last forever, maybe destroy a relationship. Or you can just be like, probably doesn't need to be said. And just move on.
Well, you feel like you got to win in the moment. You got to win.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not the best approach to an argument.
No, because most of the time you're not going to remember it.
Right.
You're not going to remember what happened. So just let it go.
You ever ask the kids that same question? Do you remember me and Mom arguing?
Never have, but I could guarantee that if I brought them into the room right now and said, "When was the last time your mom and dad had a knockdown blowout fight?" Maybe not a knockdown, but just a blowout fight.
Yeah. Something you remembered. Yeah.
I don't think they would remember. I really don't.
So you think that shows a healthy marriage or something else?
I think it shows a healthy marriage if you have other components that go along with it. Now, if two people don't fight, they don't raise their voices, but they never talk, that's not healthy. That would be, that would be passing on to your kids that they look at you and be like, well, the secret to a happy marriage is just don't engage.
Right.
Stay disconnected.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of times like, Kristen and I, we're affectionate. The kids will give us crap for hugging and kissing in front of them. And, it's that part of it. It's not that they like, mom and dad don't fight because they don't talk. It's like, no, they talk, they have their interactions, and they're naturally they've seen the interactions where it's like, what, why are you doing that? Or, whatever. Right. But it's not a fight. But as long as you have they see the other side of it, that you're talking, you're touching, you're feeling, it's not in a weird way. It's real. It's like, you can tell they love each other, and that, And when all your kids go away and you can look at the person sitting on the couch and be like, damn, I'm still lucky.
Do you ever sit there and you're like, did we do okay?
Good or bad, my measurement for success is naturally what we do in our business, and that type of thing too. But I also look at our kids, and I have friends that, I know that they wish their kids would have turned out differently. But I look at my kids and I'm like, I'm happy.
Are they good people?
They're good people. They would help anybody, and they're venturing down the road of success, good jobs, good careers. And, and like Brody with what he's doing in college right now. I mean, we're blessed. We are truly blessed. And like I said, I know that I have some friends that things haven't turned out so well.
Kind of what kind of fruit do you produce?
Yeah.
From the tree. Yeah.
And it's really cool because I don't know if you've ever noticed it or not, but if you ever, do you think Kristen's a little bit different than I am?
Oil and water? No.
Something like that. It is. We are the
She might be a Chevy.
Well, you know what? She grew up in a Chevy family, and I've taken a lot of Chevy stuff from that. Yes.
I did know that, by the way.
She is my Chevy.
You're a Ford, she's a Chevy.
Oh, God. Yeah. But what I honestly think that it's a good thing. It is a really good thing because we are
opposites attract.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds crazy, but no, opposites attract, yin and yang. It's all very, very real. I am the subdued and I'm calm. Kristen is, I'm going to get this done. And if I have to, I don't care what I have to do. I'm going to find the answer. I'm going to find the solution. And, she's bold. She's strong.
Right.
And the cool part is that we're seeing now that the kids have a really nice mix of Kristen and myself. In fact, Kristen even became in high school, she became an adjective with all of Dalen's friends.
Oh.
Yeah. Kind of crazy, right?
Yeah. So you're being a Christian?
The whole saying is that in college or in high school, well, and even went to college too. In high school, Kristen's or Dalen's friends would be like, "Oh boy, I think we need to go Kristen Judd on her."
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
She was just like, there was a prom that we went to, and the kids, we rented them a limo, and it was supposed to have this, and this. And we meet them down at the depot, the train station down in Denver to take pictures, and they had arrived in the limo, and the girls come up to us and are like, "Oh my God." And they had pictures. It was like an igloo cooler with 3 waters in it, and just inside was falling down. We're like, not good.
Yeah.
Kristen looked at the pictures and she's like, okay. Grabs her phone and makes a call. And, you could just hear it going on. And before we were done taking pictures, the new limo was there, fully stocked. And but that's like, she just went Kristen Judd on somebody.
Kristen Judd, an adjective. Wow.
Yeah. I try to use my powers of, been in sales for 20 plus years. And so I do the empathetic approach.
And just go off.
We had a dispute one time on a Verizon bill, and it was a pretty big dispute. And I had worked on it for about 3 days. And the third day I was talking to a representative, and it moved up to somebody higher in the company. And, I'm doing the whole, well, try to put yourself in my shoes.
Oh.
Can you see what happened here? And can you see why I would be upset by this? And I want to know what the next steps are and how we're going to take care of it. And the guy's like, we're not going to do anything. And I tried again, and Kristen literally grabbed the phone out of my hand, and she went direct.
And it worked.
Sadly. I mean, I'm happy it did. But yeah, she hung up the phone, and I'm like, so? She's like, it's done.
Huh?
I'm like, oh God, I just wasted 3 days of my life trying to fix this.
Right. You're trying to be all PC
and I was
nice guy.
That whole thing is like, you're going to get, attract more flies with honey type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It works with some people, not with others. So
no.
Yeah.
Wow.
Lesson learned, but I'm still PC.
So what's up? What's going on? I mean, you got all this stuff going on. So all that happened last year. Brody moved out.
Yeah. Brody moved out. Gunner moved out. So it's been a big transition, but I'm not worried about it at all. I'm excited about it. Like, for example, it wasn't long after Brody had gone to college and before his football game started that we have a timeshare at Peak 8 in Breckenridge. And we're like, let's just go there for the week. So we worked from Breckenridge for the week. Things, when you look at it as not what you're losing, but what you're gaining, I think is the biggest thing. And I do have to mentally, I have to remind myself of that. And the biggest thing is that you're watching your kids grow and, succeed and excel in life. And that's a good thing.
Right.
mean, God forbid, I don't want Gunner still living at the house, and
for his sake.
For his sake, he's got to get out there and feel the world.
Yeah,
getting what, and even like he's just gone through a whole bunch of buying the condo with you guys. That was a great learning experience for him. And, buying that, going through a complete and total renovation, that was another great learning experience for him. And now living on his own, and it's like, got to get insurance on his own. He's got to get his cards registered on his own. All of that adulting stuff.
Yeah.
Because God forbid, you don't want to be that person that, your kids get to be in their 20s and they're like, wait a minute, you have to pay for electricity and water?
Right.
What do you mean?
Right.
That's not free?
Right.
There's just little things that I know it's kind of funny, but there are some kids that if they are so sheltered, they don't, when the real world hits, it hits hard.
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah, you always heard that when you were younger, and you never really fully understand it until you get in it.
No.
So.
No, not at all. You don't know it until you're the one sitting across the table or sitting across the desk at the DMV.
Yeah.
And that's funny. The DMV has so many, nobody likes the DMV. Gunner's been working with the DMV, and I never gave him any. It's like, it's going to be a pain in the, it's going to be hard. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. I'm like, here's what you need to do. Make sure you have these documents when you go in. And he goes in the first couple of times and he's calling me and he's like, what in the world? What is wrong with these people? He's like, I swear to God, this lady enjoyed the fact that she told me I didn't have this piece of.
They like saying no.
Yeah.
They do.
And I said, I know. I think there is some type of satisfaction that they get from that. Yeah. But you can also gain the same satisfaction if you learn everything you need. And because we just found out he was driving Kristen's dad's truck, and Kristen's dad just, recently passed away.
Right.
We didn't realize he went in to get it re-registered or get the tags for it. The truck was just in his name.
Oh.
So the DMV couldn't do anything. And I'm thinking, oh my God, we're going to have to take this thing through probate, and this is going to be a nightmare. But thankfully I have a niece that is in DU law school, and she is she's going to be a wills and trust attorney.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I call her up and I'm like, hey, what do we do? She's like, oh, you just need a small estates affidavit. She's like, because that truck isn't worth $82,000, and that's what the limit is this year. If the assets aren't over $82,000, then you can get everything changed over with a small estate affidavit.
Oh,
turned out to be a really
good tip.
Yeah, turned out to be a really simple process, but it was it was that first headache of trying to go through it all, and then trying to get his Mustang registered because he put high flow headers on it and catbacks and an H pipe, and so he's got it all modified so it could not pass emissions in Adams County.
But
now he lives in Well County. So, but then there was all of that proving that he lived there and all.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
But it's all that stuff. He called me last week and was just walking out of the DMV, and I could hear the smile in his voice. And he's like, I did it. I'm like, I knew
Got it.
I knew you
Registered.
could. Yeah.
It's in my name.
Yep. And that's a big accomplishment.
Yeah.
It's one of those things we can't think back because we've done it so many times. We can't. Well,
the victories.
I take that back. Anytime I walk in and out of the DMV, that's a victory. So
when you actually get what you want from the DMV.
Yeah. When you actually get what you want. But so that's my whole thing is I've always said it. If my kids are happy, I'm happy. Now I don't try to place everything on that, but it's a big part of it. It's because if your kids are like something's going bad, you're a compassionate guy.
Yeah.
I think, and you feel it.
Yeah.
And the hard part there is to try not to do too much.
That right balance.
Yeah.
Being there to support them, but not doing it for them.
That's the biggest thing. I remember that time when, Daylin went off to college and she was there for 3 weeks. And at the 3-week mark, she was like, I can't do it.
Oh, what'd you do?
No friends, no this,
Out
no
of state?
that. No, she was just up in Fort Collins.
Oh.
So actually it would make it easier for her just to say, hey, I'm going to come and stay at the house. I'm going to, and I actually used a thing that we had learned through, we do a lot of personal development. John D. Martini. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. So John D. Martini, it's just a very common sense way of looking at things. And like the biggest thing about that is you can't have two things at once. So you can't, if you have good, or you have two things at once, if you have good, there's going to be evil. If there's evil, there's going to be good. You know, it's that whole, you know, you can't have one thing without the other.
Gotcha.
So the biggest thing is when something's really bad, it's like, all right, well, let's focus on what's good. So we had a long conversation. I'll never forget it. I was out on the deck. It was dark, talking to her, and I'm like, oh my God.
So you're trying to talk her into staying?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like she is, and you know, she was very upset, and she's like, I have no friends. I don't have a friend group here. And she felt alone and isolated, but she was doing really good in school. And so as she's telling me all that, I'm doing the whole, okay, I understand. That's bad. Tell me one good thing. Tell me one good thing. There is nothing good. And I'm like, yes, there is. I said, think about it. Tell me one good thing. And then she finally said, well, I've had plenty of time to study. And I'm like, there you go. I think I must be hungry. I was like, there you go. And then I kept doing it. And I kept saying, give me one more. And by the time we were done, we probably had 5 or 6 on the table. And she's like, you know what? It's not that bad. I'm like, awesome. So
that made you feel good.
It did.
Yeah. You're like,
it did.
Dang.
Yeah.
You hung up the phone all proud of yourself. And
I think I hung up the phone proud of her. That she was able to
discover.
Yeah, she was able to walk herself through that. And then I told her, I said, give it one more week. One more. Don't make any decision right now. Think about what we talked about. Give it one more week. And we never had the conversation again.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was cool.
Why can't we do that for ourselves?
You know, we have really tried to do that, especially with when you learned, I mean, life is all about, if you can keep the line level. So never get too high, never get too low. Yeah. Because anytime you're really high, you're that close to being knocked off your pedestal. And anytime you're this low, it's really not as bad as you think it is. So if you can always try to reference that, it's not easy all the time. Because sometimes it seems like, you know, especially if you're a homeowner, it's like AC unit, water heater, fridge. What is going on? It's like,
yeah.
Can somebody please tell me the high in this situation?
Right.
Except for the high cost of replacements. But no, you always want to try to keep that in mind and try to keep things level. Never get too high, never get too low.
Yeah. The whole saying of truth's in the middle.
It is. Yeah.
Truth's in the middle. Yeah.
I've never heard that, but I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a biblical thing. So try to live by that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't get too high. Don't get too low.
Truth's in the middle.
Truth's in the middle.
That could be a country song.
Yeah. I just don't have the voice. So you sleep pretty well, but what keeps you up? Anything?
Oh, there's always things that, you know, you think about that, you know, kind of figuratively what keeps you up. And I would say the biggest thing for us right now is probably what keeps us up is like, how do we, I mean, because we're getting older. And not that we don't want to work forever, but we want to be able to do more of what we want and not have to be like, how much is that? Should we think about that? So it's not just that. It's a matter of how do you continue to build a business? Because we're, you know, Kristen, herself is 11 years into our business. I'm 7.
Okay.
So for me, it's still very young. But what do we add? What can we build? Like what you have gone through with your business. It's like, what's the value add? How can we not just be in real estate or in, you know, mortgage broker? How can we add more value to that? Make it a fuller package. And so that's what we're doing. We're trying to add more stuff into the business because let's face it, this day and age, one stream of income is a little scary. So and with what we do and what the economy has been through, politics aside, I mean, it's been a roller coaster ride.
Mm-hmm.
It's trying to figure out how can we kind of stabilize that.
Was last year tough?
Last year was actually, it wasn't bad, but it's a little bit more of and it's a little bit harder to do. I mean, last year was interesting.
Last year was tough.
It was tough.
I mean, real estate industry.
Well, because of the interest rates. I mean, we look at inflation and the interest rates, but then you look at the market, and the market is going crazy. So people were in a really big, I think people were in a state of like, it really is not, I mean, this hurts, but look at my stocks, look at my 401k, look at my IRA. I'm still growing.
Doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is one of those things that, now we've been saying this for a while now, that has kind of defied the natural order of things. You know, when we look at economic indicators over the years, economic indicators like inflation and interest rates and national debt.
We should be in the tank, right? Like
should be in the tank.
Going the other way.
The market looks at that and adjusts itself accordingly. And over the last few years, interest rates, inflation, everything crazy. People are like, oh my God, my dollar's not going nearly as far anymore. In fact, what is the power of my dollar anymore? But yet the market is still doing this climb. And
it's an anomaly.
It's something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know exactly what it is, but it feels overinflated to me. But it's, I think the best term I would say is it's a false positive for people. And I think we'll see a reality, because I really think that, you know, things are
correction.
I think we'll see a correction. Robert Kiyosaki, he is calling for, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah. He's
calling for a big market downturn in February.
Like
but
a bloodbath.
Yeah. The crazy thing is, though, it's like you can look up and Google and research whatever you want. Well, what I mean by that, I don't care. You can even take that on a political realm. If you want something to support a liberal frame of mind, you can find it all day long. If you want something to support a conservative frame of mind, you can find that all day long. If you want something to support that the market is always going to be great and that it's going to be strong, you can find analysts that are talking about that. It's just how you Google and how you search and where you get your information. So
what's the truth?
The truth is in the middle. That's how every good talk goes. You bring it right back to that. Yeah.
So let's go back to how you're trying to add more value. What's the process look like for you? Did you just look in your business and you're like, we could do better there, we could do better there? Or it's like, maybe we need to start another business to get another stream of income? It's
more along the lines of, because right now we have tax-free indexed accounts, IULs, Index Universal Life. We also have the living benefits on the term side. And then we also have indexed accounts. So essentially you can look at those as 3 streams of income.
I see.
So like when we went through COVID, our living benefits was amazing because people had this, and living benefits is simply just life insurance that you can access the death benefit while you're still alive. But it's life insurance, all the same, just with that twist on it.
Right.
That makes it a little bit more palatable than just buying death only life insurance. But going through COVID, people were being hit right between the eyes with the fact that, I hate to say it, but you could die. And so when that was happening, there were a lot of people that came to us and was like, I need life insurance.
So mortality was in the forefront. Like, you're
it's
more
like,
aware of that.
It's like I am mortal.
Yeah.
And we are mortal, but some people, you don't think about it until it's too late.
Sure.
And I mean, let's face it, nobody's going to get out of this game alive. But
we just had that incident in New York, the plane crash. I mean, last night.
Oh God, I was thinking about that, man. And honestly, how many of those people and how many times have we been in that situation? You travel a lot.
Yeah.
You look down, you see the Potomac River.
Yeah,
you see the lights of the runway. It's like
there.
It's like, God, I should be in my car in like 20 minutes.
That frame of mind just before that happens.
Yeah.
I was telling Tiana the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, we made it. We're landing.
Yeah. And I
get out my cell phone a little early, even though I'm not supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Text the family, I'm here.
Exactly. Yeah. That's crazy that you had the same thought, because that's exactly what went through my head was look out the windows like, we're home.
We're home.
And
landing gear's going down.
For all intents purposes, well, it was 200 feet. They were already down. They were locked in, ready to land. And
what a horrific experience.
Yeah.
I hope, I don't want to sound morbid or anything, but I hope it was quick.
Yeah. I hope so too. You never know. I mean, we'll find out more in the days to come, but
well, that doesn't happen very often, right? I mean, I think the last one was 2009.
Said it's been a decade.
It's been a decade, at least a decade.
At least a decade since we've had something major like that happen.
But we're all going to die. And so I wonder if that kind of mentality will be brought back up. Like
it could. I mean, it's those little things that happen like that, right? That make you think about it. And it's just, I kind of look at life insurance and what we do is it's a hard thing to talk to people about, because you talk about life insurance and people are like, nah, I don't really want to go there.
Yeah.
But it's like, what is it? The term is like set it and forget it. And just think about it for 30 minutes. And it's like, okay, this is the smart thing to do. This is the foundation I need to have in place. And I always promote naturally with our part of it, because we do the living benefits. They're not riders. It's living benefits. It's part of it that if you have a heart attack or a stroke or cancer, something takes you out of work, you can access your death benefit. You don't have to die to get it. Because we tell people that all the time. It's like nobody wakes up in the morning. It's like, January 30th, be a good day to have a heart attack. Yeah. You never know, like you said. Yeah, it's never planned. So it's better to have it in place, set it, forget it. And then if you need it, you're going to thank yourself later on down the road. And I did a blog, posted it on Monday. And here's the thing, I do this blog, I posted on Monday, and it's probably, I pat myself on the back, best blog I wrote. Because it had a little bit of humor with it, but it's like the 5 reasons why you need life insurance.
You wrote it yourself?
Yeah.
Like not AI?
Not AI.
Like you actually had thoughts that you wrote down and put it in an organized fashion and
one sentence, and you get a whole blog. But the first sentence was my thought. I'm not kidding you. After I write, I've been doing, this is my 3rd one. So I'm doing a weekly blog. And when I got done with this one, I came out of my office and I looked at Kristen and I'm like, oh my God, read this. This is phenomenal. It's got a little bit of humor with it. It's like if you put life insurance in place, you'll look like a financial expert, even though you can't fully understand how to divide a paycheck after dinner, or your bill. It had a lot of neat little twists to it. But the point I was going to make is that I do something like that and I get excited about it. I put it out there and my mom likes it.
And that's it.
And, it's going to take time to get the traction, but it's how do you get the word out there to people that this is an important thing to have in place. Don't wait until you're 200 feet off a runway and find yourself in that situation that, like, oh my God, I didn't realize I was leaving my family in such a tough spot. And we've talked with people that have gone through those events. They've gone through breast cancer. And it's like, I didn't have life insurance. Thank God I survived. I can't get life insurance, but I need to make sure my spouse has it. And had it not been for that life-threatening experience, they would never think about it. So that's why I say set it and forget it. It's a smart thing to have. It's a safety net. It's everything you need. It's that parachute in case you get in trouble.
Right.
Because the last thing you want to have happen is like, the plane's going down, you're jumping out and you're like, damn, I wish I would have bought that parachute. It was on sale 10 years ago. So it's
not that expensive.
It's not. No, it's one of those things, the younger you are, the better off it's going to be. But it doesn't mean that when you're older, you can't get it either. It's just, got to start these things early in life. And I think that's the message we're trying to get across. But it's hard to talk to the younger generation because it's
Well, they think they've got, they do have their whole life in front of them, and they're invincible. And
oh yeah,
that's what I thought.
Yeah, you asked
20 something. Yeah,
yeah. You asked that kid
I don't
that
have to
was
worry about that life insurance,
right. Yeah, when I was speed shifting a Mustang GT down a quarter mile,
there you go. You weren't thinking about life insurance.
Heck no, it's like I don't care what happens, I'm going to walk away from it.
Yeah,
yeah. It's not until it's a hard lesson to learn.
Well, I want to go back to the getting better or adding more value. So you started the blog. Mom likes it. What's going to keep you going to next week?
Well, we've added some different things to our business, and one of them is it's like a supplemental benefits program that we're talking to companies about now. So it's an overlay on top of what they already have, and the purpose of it is to help employers keep their health insurance level.
Health insurance.
Health insurance. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I know you're thinking, well, wait a minute, Ed, you're not. So Kristen actually did go out and get her health insurance license like a month ago.
Okay.
And I've been kind of working the business side of it and putting the whole thing together. But it's really the company that we're working with, that we're bringing into our business, it works as like a first line of defense. So rather than calling your health insurance company with a problem, whatever it might be, you name
Cancer?
Cancer is something different. So cancer would be, if you do that, you're definitely going to go to your primary insurance provider. If you
back surgery?
If you break an arm, it's not Aflac. It's nothing like that.
Okay.
But if you break an arm, if you need mental help, if you have an addiction problem, something like that, if you want to get prescriptions, or if you want to go to urgent care, this program that we're doing lays over and above your primary health insurance so that your first call goes to what we do. And we have a nurse assistant that's an AI bot, Nurse Clara, that answers all the calls, and she can be in 100,000 different places at one time. So it takes all those calls, and they can, like if you called up and you said, hey, I've got this going on, you can talk to, it'll go through a doctor assist system that can say, okay, well, it looks like you've got this. We'll give you a prescription for this. Here is the pharmacy that is closest to you that you're going to get the best deal. And we also have, because it's a group thing, we get group discounts on the pharmacy, on the pharmaceutical part of it. Or there's a few different ways you can use it. But what happens is when you make that first call, the cost of health insurance is driven by utilization. So if everybody in your company is calling it your health insurance company, your primary provider, next year your premiums are going to go up. So if you do this first, we can help the company to keep their premiums level. And the nice part about it doesn't cost the employer anything, and actually puts money back in their pocket at the end of the year.
Well, that sounds cool.
Yeah, it's kind of a neat little deal. Here's the catch, though. Why are you guys doing health insurance when your living benefits, indexed accounts, and index universal life? So the reason we're doing that is that we go in and we talk to the employer about the benefits plan, how we can make their benefits plan better and keep their costs keep their premiums level. But then on the flip side of that, because they're participating in this plan, the employees, the IRS will give them pre-tax money back into their paycheck. Now, that pre-tax money has to be used on some type of wellness plan. Guess what's considered a wellness plan? Life insurance. Yeah.
Wow. So it pays for itself almost.
It does. So we can set the company up, and then we go back in and we talk to the employees. And the nice part about this is that it's guaranteed issue life insurance, permanent policies, totally portable, so that if they leave, they can take them. So we get set down with the person that's 320 pounds, chain smoker, and eating Doritos by the handful, and has diabetes. Well, we can get him covered.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a game changer.
It is a game changer. So we're really excited about it. We're kind of ground floor right now. We're working with a couple companies that we've already gone in and talked to them, set up the initial part of it, gone through their payroll, and it's a nice little value add again, but it helps the employer but it also helps us on the other side with the life insurance part of it as well.
Well, that's a huge benefit, and that helps with the employer with retention as well. I mean,
It does.
You know,
Yeah.
keep employees happy.
And employee retention's been a tough one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's I like to say it's a win-win. There's always
Right.
pieces of it that you have to work through that get a little difficult, but for the most part, we're excited about bringing that in.
Mm-hmm.
And here, let me get your opinion, because you talk about different sources of income, right? Have you noticed here lately, if you are on any type of social media platform, how many people are coming out of the woodwork with this type of income, this type of income, this type of income, this type of... It's so frustrating.
Yep.
Because every one of them, you're like, I scam alerts in my head go off the charts.
Yeah. Yeah. My belief is master one first.
Yeah. True. I agree.
If you have one and you're like the guy or the gal that if you have this problem, don't go to anybody else. You go to this person.
Right.
I think we focus too much on several streams of income where we're just okay in those incomes instead of really nailing and mastering one.
Well, and I think when you nail and master one, like you guys in your business, I mean, you start to get the referrals and referrals of referrals.
It gets easier.
Yeah.
It gets easier.
If you put your time in on the foundational service that you offer.
Yeah. But I'm guilty. I've been distracted many times.
Oh yeah. And that's my whole thing is I'm trying not to get distracted because I really focus on one thing and then I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What is that? What is that deal? Tax liens? Huh. They're buying tax liens for $14 and they're making $2 million?
Right.
It must be real.
Instead of just hitting the nail on the head every single day.
I like that.
And
That's a good analogy.
Because boredom sits in. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You get bored. You're like, for me, it's like, oh man, I'm going to go in another living room.
Yeah. I get it because I shouldn't talk for Kristen. I know I'm the same way. Like I'm going to have the same conversation. Why do I need life insurance? I'm young. It's too expensive. What's it really going to do? And I'm like, oh, here we go through. Yeah. The whole, and the hard part is to always maintain and try to maintain the same compassion that you had when you first started. It's like, oh my God, here's why you need it. Or you get to the point, it's like, oh God, here we go again. This is why you need it. Don't be stupid.
Right. But if you were to just focus on how can I make that experience better?
Mm-hmm.
We talk about, I don't know if you listen to Alex Hormozy, but
no,
he talks about better, more, new. So can you make the thing that you're doing better? If you answer yes, then you don't need more and you don't need new.
Gotcha.
So once you have it the best and it's humming and it's super efficient and you can't get that thing any better than it is, then you go to more. Then you look for something else. But
so
until you've mastered better,
something related, or
it could be. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
To give the example, real estate and mortgage, right? They kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not going and starting a carpet shampooing business. I'm not going out and owning a bunch of Starbucks. I mean,
right.
It doesn't work because I've tried it, and you just get distracted. Then it gets you away from the mastery of the one thing.
Yeah, did you try carpet shampooing?
No.
Because I would see where that would, you walk in, you look at a house, you're looking at a listing, it's like, I can do that floor.
Yeah.
But you know what? There's a lot of people out there that do floors.
Yes. They do it better than I do.
So more and then new.
Better, more, new.
Better, more, new. I like that.
Can you make it better? And if you can't, then can I do more of it? And then if you can't, then you do something new. But there's 2 filters in place before you go find something new.
I like that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think we could all do better. I think
we can all do better for sure. And like I know this something just happened like a month. It was a month ago, right around a month ago. I was at a networking group, and there's a guy that I see there all the time. He works for a credit union, and I was talking to him, and this is just me thinking, how can I make myself better? How can I make our business better? How can I make it, the best? If it's the best it can be, I would not have gotten the remark that I got from this guy when I was talking to him. He's a credit union guy, right? And he said, so you're 5 Rings Financial. And I said, yeah. And he said, yeah. I said, I'm with, I won't say the name of the credit union, because I'm with this credit union. And he said, we're like the cockroaches of networking. We always show up. And I'm like,
he's including you in that.
I'm like, why did you call me a cockroach? I am not a cockroach. Jeez. I did. I walked away. He kind of chuckled and I walked away going, why does he think I'm a cockroach?
Ooh.
Like that's a really, and if he thinks that way about his business, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be a cockroach. Yeah. That was that literally had me for half the day driving home.
Yeah. Wow.
So
that just means that you're always there and that you don't really have any value other than
I was thinking
present.
I was thinking I'd live in the dark, eat a bunch of crap, and I'd disappear when the lights come on. I'm like, that's not me. I'm better than that. I know it was. It was an ouch. And I just was like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
And then you start thinking, it's like, well, I wonder how many other people in that room have that perception.
A lot.
Yeah. Because there is no doubt that, I remind myself that what we do in life insurance is a very, very noble profession because that's what, at the end of the day, at the end of that time, and, you're the person that put the life insurance in place and you're the person that shows up at the door after somebody has passed away or somebody got hurt and you show up with a check. At that point, you're not a cockroach.
You're somebody's hero.
You're a freaking superhero.
Yeah.
I mean, you might as well put a cape on when you walk in the door.
Right.
People don't see that in the beginning, but you have to remind yourself that, and that's what I do. I remind myself all the time that at the end of the day, this really matters what we do. So I'm going to kind of take what you were talking about, the better, new, more. And, how do you get that message out there in a better way?
Yeah. What comes to mind?
I got to work on it. I mean, how do you make it? You can't make it exciting. You can't make it fun. It's almost got to be part of like people trying to better themselves in a financial way. Because really life insurance in its purest form, it is a financial vehicle when it comes right down to it. So you have to figure out a way to do it.
Internal. It's how can I be better?
Yeah.
Because when I'm better, it translates to somebody else. But have you really mastered your craft? Like, I don't know if you're even a fan. Are you a Tom Brady of the life insurance? Are you, Tony Robbins?
No, not at all.
So
I can honestly say that. I mean, what, yeah, I mean, that's a good question. How could you be the Tom Brady of life insurance? And I don't know because it's not, the perception is not of glamour. The perception is, I mean, it's more of a, I don't want to talk about that because you're talking about me dying. You're talking about me getting sick.
But is that a myth?
I don't think so. We put a life insurance policy in place for a guy that sadly enough, he said it's a bad omen. If I have life insurance, I'm opening myself up to getting sick or dying or getting hurt.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
It is a tough one. And he did. That's the sad part. It's like, oh my God. Those are little things that stick with you,
Ooh. Yeah, how could I how could I spin that? That's
work on it. It's another thing.
Or it could be a blessing. It's like
it was a blessing. There's no way that signing a document that is going to allow your family access to, in this case, millions of dollars. There is no way that signing that piece of paper made you sick. But it sure was a blessing that you did it when you did it. Because had you not, it would have been a totally different story.
Well, you hear that a lot. Don't put it in the universe because that's.
Oh yeah.
Do you believe that?
That has been something that I don't know how long it's been around. I know that it became very big for me seeing this happen a lot. People talking about the universe, and I'm not a big believer in the universe. I'm a big believer in God, and I'm like, if you're going to pray to the universe, just pray to God. Because isn't that where that's coming from in the first place? I don't want to be controversial, but that's what I believe. And putting it out in the universe, I mean, we write down our goals, we write down our gratitudes, and those are things that it keeps it top of mind. So I think really what it comes down to is whatever is top of mind is what you draw towards you. So I don't think when somebody does a life insurance, they're not thinking every day, oh God, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Now I'm going to die. No. That's why I say set it and forget it. Get it in place.
Yeah, what you focus on expands.
It does. Yeah.
So that's positively and negatively, I think.
100%.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that negativity expands a heck of a lot faster than positivity. I really do. Because when you start getting negative, things seem to 10x. I think what you put out there in the universe, you're going to get. Just got to be careful what you put out there.
So you've been in this 7 years.
Yeah.
Is there one thing you can take away to be like, I wish I would have known this 7 years ago?
Yeah, well, there's a few things in our business that I say that about. First of all, understanding. I mean, I wish I would have understood indexed accounts when I was starting my career in the corporate world, because my situation would be vastly different, like millions. Yeah,
we probably wouldn't be talking right now.
Probably not.
I'd probably be on some yacht or something.
I'd be on a yacht getting ready to moor up at an island.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it might not have been that drastic, but it would have been big. It would have been a big difference. So, I mean, those are some of the things I wish I would have known.
Compound interest.
Yeah.
That's a concept.
That's another big one. And the concept of starting early. And I mean, that's another huge one. So, I mean, those are definitely on the,
wish I could have
kind of the mechanical side of what we do in the business. I mean, like the nuts and bolts of what we do with the indexed accounts and, how those work, and having life insurance with living benefits and how that really protects you and your family. But there's other things too, like as far as like, how would you start the business, and what would you do different in the business to build a bigger foundation? And, if I could go back 7 years, I would probably have a bigger focus on growing an agency as opposed to, seeing how much you could produce. Yeah. Because I look at
interesting concept.
It is. And I look at it in a couple different ways. It's like, it's great for us because we've got quite a few agents now. And we have some agents that when you see somebody that you can bring into the company and you teach them and they grow into an executive vice president with our company and they're making, a good 6-figure income. And that's kind of a cool feeling. That's pretty neat when you can look at that accomplishment. But we have found a vehicle in doing this where we're not only able to help people, put them in the right financial position, protect them, and secure their retirement, show them how they can grow their money tax-free. And, that's a neat thing in and of itself. But when you can also show somebody how they can take what they're doing, maybe they don't like their job, and you can show them how they can have a career, make great money, and, be happy about what they're doing. That's kind of a cool thing too. So the focus, I think Kristen and I both would have put more focus on that in the beginning.
That's always tough though, because when you're new in a business, you almost have to convince yourself that it's the right thing to do.
Oh yeah. No, that is definitely part of it.
It takes years.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It's like, let me see. I was a high-tech sales rep for 22 years. I'm a finance guy now.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that is a hurdle, but that's why you have to show up. And Kristen doing it for 11 years. She's showing up consistently. People look at her and see her as that. But the nice part about what we do is it doesn't have to be us. So like if I've been in it for 7 years, I can introduce you to a guy that's been doing it for 34. And he can talk you through the process. So I think there's a lot of utilizing the people around you. You know, as part of that whole team. Yeah. What did you say earlier? Well, I don't think you said
tribe.
Tribe. Yeah. Like I wasn't going to use village. But yes, something like that.
Yeah. That's cool. There's a lot of similarities between what you're doing and what we do. And it's just a service business. So we don't sell well, I don't get to, you can say I sell a product, maybe a home, but it's not, I don't see it as a product.
Right. It's I mean, you're selling a service here. I mean, people can't do this on their own. It's crazy, but I don't know.
Well, all I know is that we both got a lot of work to do. And that's, you know, getting better is just a lifelong pursuit. It's just mastery is, you know, becoming like a black belt in whatever you're doing. It takes time. It takes reps. It takes studying. It takes all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think when you focus on that, it doesn't feel like you're being productive, but it's probably the most productive thing you can do.
Totally agree. And I also think it's part of, you know, you do that, you become the black belt. There's a lot of people, us, you and I as fathers, that our kids are going to look at that and it's going to be, you're creating a bit of a legacy. Because we're not, I didn't retire from the big corporate job where your kids look at that and it's like, okay, that's the way we go. Now, working that job for 40 years.
Yeah.
Get done and retire, get your pension, retire, and then die in 2 years. It's a sad reality. And I look at that and I've seen this happen a lot. I mean, I was very thankful. Weirdly enough, I was really thankful when my dad retired. He was a longtime electrician, phone man with, you know, Mountain Bell and Western Electric, but he went through all the processes, all the changes, and he retired from the company. Yep. And it wasn't long before he retired. There's another guy that we know that retired, and he literally 2 months after he retired, died. It's because guys that have been doing the same thing for 30 or 40 years, and they know what they're doing every day of their life.
It gives them purpose.
It gives them purpose. And then all of a sudden that plug is pulled and they wake up and they're like, you know, the first week they're like, oh God, who am I?
What do I do? Who am I?
Yeah.
Like they've got a whole new identity.
Yeah. And then their body, you know, just it's like, don't know how to handle it. I don't know what it is, but I don't know what those statistics are, but I bet they're pretty high. People that do that standard work until you retire and your lifespan isn't long after that. I was happy my dad started his own business after he got out. Then he died at 63. And I'm like, you screwed that up. Damn it.
Dang. 63, really?
63, yeah. And I think sometimes we were talking about that last night at dinner. That's why that 60 mark is like, for me, it's like, God, 60.
Yeah.
I'm going to be 60.
I could see that.
Yeah.
That messes with your head.
It does. And I think it kind of hit me last night when we were talking about it. It's like, that's why. Because he was only 63. And
good thing you're more like your mom.
Yeah, I am. I honestly am. I think I come more from her gene pool than.
No, I think purpose is it's important.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There's a lot of people out there operating with no purpose.
And you know, the crazy thing is that I think some people think, and I was kind of having this conversation with one of my boys, they think where you make your money should be your purpose.
Mm.
And we kind of came to the conclusion, it's like, you know what? Where you make your money could just be where you make your money.
Mm-hmm.
And your purpose could be rent-free.
Mm.
Just something that fulfills you.
Mm.
It doesn't mean that you have to make a living to doing it. But if you can have that purpose at the end of the day, you made your money. And then whatever your purpose is, you've done that and you fulfilled yourself. That
Is there enough time though?
I don't think it's something where you have to put in 8 hours a day on your purpose.
Mm.
I really don't.
So do you believe in the whole, find something you're passionate about and you won't work a day in your life?
I do.
Yeah.
100%. Most people aren't lucky enough or fortunate enough to do that. Because let's face it, how many people love the same things when it comes right down to it? Fast cars, fast boats, hunting, fishing, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of money to be made in those industries. Or say I'm a cabinet maker. I mean, does that make sense?
Sort of. I don't know if I totally buy into that though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think your passion could just be we're meant to work.
Well, and the whole concept of retirement is, it's an outdated concept because we are meant to work until we die. So yeah, I totally agree with that. But your true passion, it might not be your moneymaker. You can like what you're doing.
Right.
And you can enjoy what you're doing, because I can honestly say that what we do at the end of the day, I can look back. So when I was my last part of my corporate job, I was managing all the Sonics nationwide. At the end of the day, I never left that company going, I made somebody's life better today. It's like, no, I just put another damn Sonic hamburger in somebody's mouth. But I was managing the merchant side of their account, not fulfilling, but I can honestly say that with what we do, I know that when I walk away from somebody I do business with, it's like, I feel good. I just put a safety net on their family or secured their retirement. That does feel good at the end of the day.
So does it make you want to do more?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. But I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it might not be my end all be all passion.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by that.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of legacy, how do you know that, like, what your legacy is? Is it like what they put on your tombstone? Is it what your kids say about you?
It's what your kids say about you. It's how your kids go forward in their lives. You don't know what your legacy is, and hopefully we can look down and see it. You can see a legacy that, I know the legacy that I got from my parents, and we can see it, but I don't think we can necessarily see that legacy going forward because we don't know how it's going to play out. And a legacy is long-term, right? It's what the next...
Can you have the legacy before you die?
I think you can create it. Doesn't necessarily mean... Look at the Rockefellers, right? The Rockefellers had a legacy, but they didn't manage that legacy correctly. Most of the Rockefellers now they depleted the family wealth. So what I mean by that, it's like you can create this incredible legacy. Maybe it's a legacy of wealth, and you have this legacy of wealth, but did you put work ethic in there? Or did you create, like, the first maybe 3 generations building up to that? They worked their tails off. They built, and they kept that legacy moving forward. But by the time you get to that 4th generation, they're like, I got a
gravy train.
I got a Porsche. I'm living in a mansion.
Right.
I've got a house here. I've got a house there. I don't need to work. I'm living off the money. And that's kind of, if I understand it correctly, that's kind of the way the Rockefellers had their system set up. Like the kids could just get the money. So who is it? The Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts.
So
Maybe it was the Vanderbilts
why
that
do
did
we
it. Either
always
way.
talk about legacy and wealth is involved?
Well, and that's why I threw in the work ethic part of it.
Like we always want our legacy to be, oh, I built this wealthy thing, or I built all this wealth, and wealth is always attached to legacy.
You're right. No, I think in the moment as you're saying that, I'm like, God, it's a good realization. Dang it. But you're right. I feel like there always is a component of wealth attached to it. But if your legacy is that your children and your children's children know how to create and build and take care of themselves in a good way, that's legacy. So I think a big part of it, like I said, is, I don't know, it's everything. It's the work ethic, how you treat people. I think that's a good question. That's a big part of it.
Yeah. I just think that, I think we need to separate the two.
Yeah. It's a good point.
Yeah. I think sometimes your legacy suffers if you're just thinking about building wealth. And I think when I say wealth, it's a wealth of assets, right? Wealth could be something else.
Yeah.
Wealth of knowledge, wealth of giving, wealth of something else. I don't know.
No, you're right. And so wealth, I mean, it could be a lot of things, like, just your the generations after you. Are they compassionate? Are they empathetic? Are they, is there like a philanthropy side of them? Do they want to help and contribute? I mean, I think that's all part of it. Because you could be one of those people that you create that generational wealth, but you did it through
not so good things.
Not so good things, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not a legacy. Yes, it's a legacy. So you make a very good point. That's a legacy of wealth. But is that really the legacy we want to have?
Yeah. The question is, do I want that kind of legacy, and who do I have to become?
Yeah.
Do I like that person?
Right.
I don't know.
It's a really good point.
I don't think you can separate the two, because if you look at somebody that you look up to, I use Tom Brady. Do I want to be Tom Brady? Where I want his success, but I have to accept everything else to be Tom Brady.
Yeah, I don't want that.
I may not want that.
No.
Right? Divorce? Do I want divorce?
Yeah.
Do I want the other relationships? I don't know, but you got to take it all, or you're not Tom Brady.
Yeah,
you can't just separate the Super Bowls from the family. It's a package deal.
It's a good point. Yeah.
Rockefellers, I don't know. I'd have to look more into that.
Yeah, there's a book called "What Would the Rockefellers Do?" And it talks about and I think I have it backwards. The Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts. And I think it was the Rockefellers that set it up so that the Vanderbilts are the ones that have gone through their legacy of money. And it was the Rockefellers is like, hey, if you want money, bring me a business plan, show me what you're going to do with the money, and then you're going to repay the money, but you're always going to be building the family legacy fund going forward. So that's something where you're creating the legacy of generational wealth, but you're also creating a work ethic behind it. So those are good, but there's a lot that goes into a legacy.
Do you work hard?
Not as hard as I used to.
Do you like that?
That's why I do a lot of projects, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
I feel like there's a void there. Like, dang, I could be working harder.
Physically. Yeah. Maybe not mentally, but physically. So that is why I do the things that I do, because I mean, that's a big part of who I am and my character is I love to build and create. So nothing better than at the end of the day, you've done something, you turn around. I know you've done this. Every guy's done it. They build something, they walk away and they turn around and look at it. It's like, oh, that's cool. I did that.
It's tangible.
Yeah, and then you like shut the door and then you open it or turn the light back on. It's like, I did that. And you do that like 6 times before you go to bed.
Yes.
And you're just like, you get up in the morning,
so
it's
awesome.
like still there. And I did that. Yeah, that's a big part of who I am, for sure.
How do we incorporate that more into
that's a good question. Can we break that down and figure it out?
I would love that. I feel like I get to where I want to go a lot faster.
Yeah. I mean, that was one, when I got out of college, I had my own construction company for 2 years. And that's, I love construction. I love to build. I love to create. And, I don't care what it is, building. I did small additions and decks and anything from, really anything in that little small phase construction part of it. And I did. I love that looking back. And it's like, that's like build a shed in the backyard and, keep walking around the corner looking at it. It's like,
oh, dang. Like,
damn, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder who built that.
Stuff.
I built that. Yeah. I don't know how you bring that into.
Bring it into a service business.
Into a service business, right.
That's tough.
We need to figure that out.
You do that, you crack the code on that, you will have that yacht.
You've given me something to think about.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it. Yeah. There's got to be some tangible things that I think it's built in our DNA that we got to be able to see. We got to be able to, we built that, or there's something there that if we can connect those dots, oh man, success.
See, maybe I can buy a 65 GT 350 Mustang in pieces.
Ooh.
Every time you close a deal, make a sale, you get a piece of the car.
Oh, there you go.
Slowly build it over time. And there might be something to this, because as you get like a quarter of the way into it, you start to see it come together. You're like, I want that. I need to close. I need to close a bunch of business so I can get the front quarter panels.
Well, here's the magic thing that happens is you attach a story to that part. You're like, you know how I got that part?
That would be awesome.
I helped this family that he did not want to have life insurance. And I begged him and I begged him and I begged him. And it took me 3 years to get that part, because it took me 3 years to convince John he needed life insurance. And you attach this story to every part.
Wow, that'd be a car that would be worth billions.
It'd be invaluable. You could never sell it.
Could that ever work? I wonder.
It's better than what we got.
What car are you going to build?
69 Camaro.
There you go.
Oh.
So we're going to have to figure out where we can buy a car piece by piece.
Gunner might know. We could probably go to the DMV.
Here we go. Now, we're always talking about value add, right? Mm-hmm. So this could be a brainchild. So what we'll do is we'll start our own business. Mm-hmm. And that business will be a supplier that will carry all the parts. So people buy into this concept of build whatever it is you want to build.
Right.
And we'll send you a part every time you have to buy that part. But we could be the holder, so you don't have to pay like a 65 GT350 is going to be $250,000.
Yeah.
So don't want to put that money up front, but we'll hold the car and we'll send you the parts over time. But there would have to be some type of, down payment. We could start a business that supplies the pieces to the puzzles that people are building.
Mm-hmm. You might be onto something there. Wow.
Hey, you never know. Ideas come from God knows where.
Podcasts.
They do.
Well, cool, man. I know I've taken up a lot of your time.
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah?
It was very thought-provoking.
Yeah?
Yeah, those moments where I paused and looked at you and like, he got me. I like that.
That's not on purpose.
No, it's good.
I'm learning as much, if not more.
Did I get you at all? Probably not.
Yeah.
He's got to think about that one first.
Yeah. The weird thing about it is I don't do these podcasts for anybody else. I do it for me.
Well, it really, I mean, when like-minded people get together and start sharing ideas,
But here's the thing. That's wonderful too. But I also like people that aren't like-minded too, because I don't want to pretend like I know everything.
Well, I think what I mean by like-minded is that people trying to better themselves.
There you go.
You know, not like, hey, you and I are in
we have so much in common. We're not going to argue about anything.
No.
Yeah.
No, you don't grow doing that.
Right.
But there's something about, like, I have a friend that, you know, he's got this friend has that friend. They don't do the same thing, but they got together and they're talking and shooting the shit. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, it's like, hey, let's start a company. They kept their own businesses and doing what they're doing. And they started a company building surfboards.
Wild.
And I'm like, surfboards, like behind the boat, like we do.
Yeah.
I'm like, that seems like an industry that is completely overrun.
Right. Like, how do you make money at that?
But they're doing great. Different idea, different concept, different name. And it's just, that's two guys coming together. And it's like, why not? I think that's inspirational. I think that's pretty cool.
We'd love to have them on the podcast.
Yeah,
I know they're probably busy, you know, but
this is the kind of guy that, he's got the real estate mind like you. A lot of, I don't know, he's got a lot of rental properties.
Okay.
There's no doubt that what he does for his hobby, it's a heck of a lot more than what he makes doing his living.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I just like talking to people and learning more about them. And yeah. Like I told the last guest, if I could do this full time and make a living at it, I mean, I'd do it.
That's never been done before.
I know, right? Yeah, it's a new concept. No.
Can I call you Joe?
I don't think I'll get to that level. But yeah, I'd love to hear his journey.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting thing. I mean, people want to share their stories.
Yeah.
And if you can give them a platform to share their stories, it's amazing. Now Joe Rogan, different platform. His was more like, let's be controversial.
Well, I think he gets guests that have done something really big, you know, they have sort of a celebrity status. Or
there are. I think as he's becoming more and more popular, he's got a lot of guests that come on to support theories, experts in the field, you know, that type of thing as well.
Yeah,
but I mean that's just part of the evolution of what he does.
Yeah,
I could see you doing that.
Yeah.
He does stay curious.
Yeah,
there's no doubt. Yeah, I could see you going down that path.
We'll see.
All your clients are going to be disappointed.
No, I think I mean, I still want to stay in real estate. Yeah.
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 So after all these years, is that still a burning passion inside of you?
I think it was my gift to be able to give. I haven't found a better way to do it. It's a weird answer.
No.
It's a weird answer.
I actually get that answer.
Because I feel like I'm really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
And not that I can't get better. I'm constantly getting better, but I think I can help a lot of people in that space. And I still have a lot of help that I need to give. I'm not finished.
Good answer.
Yeah.
I'll give you that one.
So. Cool, man.
Like it.
All right.
Thanks for having me on.
We'll have to have you on again.
Yeah, I'd love it.
Yeah. All right, man.
I'll study next time.